Unlike a lot of other Nintendo series, where a few specific games are almost always at the top of someone's list, the 5 main Animal Crossing games are different on every ranking. Your favorite is someone's least favorite, and your least favorite is someone's favorite. There's a lot to love about each of these games, and no one opinion is right. Then there's also the spin-offs, and yes, they exist even though we have to pretend some of them don't, and I will talk about them as well. I'm gonna rank every game in the series, and some of you will be mad at me and tell me I'm wrong, so before more than 30% of you leave before the main part of this video, let's get into that list. At number 9, Animal Crossing Plaza. So this was the easiest quote-unquote game to slot into last place because it's barely even a game. It was free on the Wii U, and I remember downloading it mostly because, well, what else was I doing on the Wii U? When I booted it up for the first time, I thought maybe it was going to be like some kind of Animal Crossing playground, maybe some mini games or something, like maybe a tiny town, maybe a little house to decorate, like maybe some kind of plaza to wander through and talk to villagers. What I actually got was essentially a Miiverse viewing app with Animal Crossing branding. You stood in a big open plaza and random villagers would wander around while you looked at screenshots people had posted from New Leaf. And for about 5 minutes, it was kind of fun scrolling through other players' posts like some weird in-game social network. I remember seeing some really creative house designs and outfits and thinking it was cool, but that was about it. And again, it wasn't trying to be a full game or anything. It was free. It was just a Miiverse extension. It was basically a screensaver with dialogue bubbles. Like, it was a companion app that came and went without doing anything memorable, and I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't even know this existed. So yeah, it's less just because it's barely even a game and arguably shouldn't even be on this list. Number 8, Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. So this gets a lot of hate, and honestly most of it is deserved, I hate to say, but I can't deny that younger me actually did have fun with this. I also have a lot of good memories associated with this because I played it around the same time I made my first YouTube channel when I was 13, all the way back when this came out in 2015. Somewhere there's a recording of my friends and I playing this when it first came out. Like, I was obsessed with Toys to Life in the early 2010s. I had a ton of Skylanders and naturally had a lot of Amiibo too, being a Nintendo fan. So this was just another game that utilized that. You scan your Amiibo and the villager shows up on screen. Like, it was simple enough. But the more you play Amiibo Festival, the more you realize what it actually is. It's like a Mario Party clone with all the energy, chaos, and competitiveness removed. It's like Nintendo said, hey, what if we made Mario Party, but everyone just kind of had a nice day together? Like, there's no tension, there's no big clutch moments, there's barely any betrayal. Like, you're probably not going to hit your friend with a Wii remote because you're mad at him. It's just a slow, peaceful march around a circular board until the session ends, until everyone says, so that just happened. And then after that, you probably go and do other 2015 things like playing Gang Beasts, whipping and naining, going on Vine, whatever else we were doing in that era. And I don't think this game is bad because it's peaceful. Like, Animal Crossing should be peaceful, but the problem is that it's peaceful in the wrong ways. Like, nothing happens in this. The minigames barely matter and don't have a lasting impression. There's a few modes in here, but none of them are really that memorable. Like, the one I remember most is the survival mode, and even I could barely tell you much about it. It's like playing a board game designed for toddlers where the goal isn't even to win, but to just simply experience shapes and colors and vaguely learn how it works. That said, I won't pretend the charm isn't there. The aesthetic is really nice, the villagers look great in HD, the little seasonal boards and event spaces are genuinely nice to look at, the sound design is cozy and familiar, and with the right group of friends, especially if nobody cares about winning, you can have a surprisingly relaxing, low-stakes evening with it. It's the kind of game you probably play like once or twice and never go back to. And in a series built around long-term games, like games you're going to be going back to very often, like, this just feels like a throwaway entry. It isn't as awful as people make it out to be, it's just so light and inconsequential that it barely feels like part of the series. Number 7, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. Pocket Camp is a game I really tried to like. I wanted it to become my on-the-go Animal Crossing, something I could just take out during downtime, something to check in on while waiting in line somewhere, something that felt like a portable version of the world I love. The idea of having a camp full of my favorite villagers that I could rearrange and decorate sounded perfect. However, there's one big issue. I already had New Leaf, which served the same exact purpose. And at first it kind of worked. The campsite theme was nice, the art style was polished. I loved designing the little spaces, arranging furniture outdoors, checking which villagers were hanging around the different areas, and it was cool to see them interact with my setup. The early days were fun, like I'd log in, see what animals were around, do a couple of tasks, craft some new furniture, and it was accomplishing for a little bit. But as I kept playing, Pocket Camp started feeling less like Animal Crossing and more like every other mobile game, with timers, bars, and pushy microtransaction structures. Instead of villagers feeling like personalities, they just felt like task generators. Like, bring me 3 bugs, collect 6 or 7 pieces of wood, craft this item, over and over like a chore list. Stopped feeling like a town or campsite I lived in, and started feeling like a to-do app. And the economy of this game definitely didn't help. Having to grind for crafting materials, wait out long timers, or spend leaf tickets to speed things up made just everything feel transactional. Like, I'd see a cool limited edition item, and there would be basically no way for me to get it without either no life goofing the game for a week or just paying real money. And that's not the feeling I want from Animal Crossing. Mainline games reward patience and just playing the game, and Pocket Camp often feels like it was just trying to punish you for not spending money. Like, I decorated my camper, I did some upgrades, I tried to make the best little camps that I could, but at some point not long after release, I just lost the desire to keep playing this. Like, with good Animal Crossing games, it feels like you're not even playing, like it just feels like it's a part of your life. But for this, it just became a chore, and I know some people really do love this and might have it a little bit higher, but it just wasn't really for me. Before we move on, this video is sponsored by Southern New Hampshire University, also known as SNHU. If you've ever felt stuck doing the same routine every day, kind of like logging into Animal Crossing and realizing you've been doing the same chores for months, might be time to level up your own path. SNHU is a non-profit accredited university with over 200 flexible online degree programs, including game development, psychology, and cybersecurity. There's no set class time, so you can learn on your own schedule, and you can transfer up to 90 credits towards your bachelor's degree. Their tuition rates are among the lowest in the nation, and you'll get free 24/7 online tutoring to help you prepare for the job market. Go to snhu.edu/gamedomain or click the link in the description to learn how you can get started with a game development degree today. Thanks to SNHU for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the ranking. Number 6, Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer. A lot of people do not like Happy Home Designer, but I really loved it for what it was. I got it the day it came out and pretty much sped through the content. Like, it's one of the most interesting spin-offs because it takes one specific part of Animal Crossing, which is interior design, and just blows it up into its own entire game. No fishing, no tournaments, no worrying about weeds taking over your town, just pure designing. It knew what a lot of players love doing and just said, have as much as you want of it. And I did have a lot of fun with it. There's something really satisfying about designing your own restaurants, hotels, villagers' homes. You can experiment with layouts you'd never actually commit to in your main Animal Crossing game. Like, if you want to give someone a cursed, overly themed room packed with only one type of furniture, you could do that. If you want to make the cleanest, most minimal aesthetic home in the series, you could do that too. The best part is the game doesn't make you jump through typical Animal Crossing hoops to access items. No saving up for weeks to buy a specific couch, no waiting for a certain wallpaper to appear in the shop. You're just given a toolbox and that's it. This is basically Animal Crossing creative mode. But the more I played, the more I realized that for me, design alone wasn't enough. Like, Animal Crossing isn't just about furniture, it's about the animals we cross along the way or something like that. It's about walking through your town at 9 p.m. and just seeing the lights on in a house and just knowing which villager is there. Like, they have that sense of community, like you get attached to certain villagers. You sometimes feel like you have to be on at a certain time, you feel like you have to go to some events. And Happy Home Designer stripped away the town and the routine aspect and only left the creative part. And while that is fun, it also felt strangely hollow at times. Decorating 30 houses back to back without actually living in that world started to feel like I was just doing design commissions, and it feels like it just lost a lot of the soul it had at first. The game also becomes repetitive faster than you'd think. After a certain number of homes, you start seeing similar requests, similar item sets, similar layouts. Without the emotion of the main game and no festivals you're building towards, no long-term relationships, it becomes a series of disconnected projects. I think the best part is definitely the businesses and public facilities, like designing those was a blast. It is a charming spin-off, and it laid the groundwork for New Horizons, improved building tools, as well as Happy Home Paradise. And I'm not going to be talking about that as its own game since it is a DLC, but this is basically a precursor to Happy Home Paradise. But I do like that better since it integrates into the world. Now we're at the point of the video where people get mad at every single pick, and at number 5, I have Animal Crossing City Folk. You there, yes you, about the comment because City Folk is your favorite game. I get it hurts that a stranger on the internet has your favorite game as his least favorite of the main series games, but these are all incredibly close and could change. I also do have to say that there's no way to make everyone happy with this list. I'm just solely going off my own opinion of what games I had the most enjoyment with. City Folk holds such a weirdly special place in my heart because it was the first Animal Crossing game I got. Played it as a kid a little bit on the Wii when I had absolutely no idea what a life sim was supposed to be. Wasn't thinking about the optimization or town layouts or movement mechanics. Like, I was just a kid when I played this and just had to figure it out. There's a lot of things I remember vividly, like catching snowflakes as they fell, seeing a balloon shadow drift across the sky and scrambling to find a slingshot, digging up fossils and feeling like an archaeologist, shaking trees hoping something would fall out and instead getting stung by bees. These little interactions felt massive because they were all so new to me at the time. Like, there's something uniquely powerful about your first Animal Crossing, even if it isn't the best one. But looking back as an adult, I can see City Folk for what it really was, with some improvements, but also with some really odd missteps. The biggest feature, which is the city area, was exciting the first few times. Riding the bus into the city felt pretty cool. Like, you'd meet new NPCs, you'd check out shops, see other animals wandering around. Kind of had this day trip vibe to it. But after a while though, it became clear that the city was more like a separate menu than like a living extension of your town. You'd go there, do the things you needed, like Gracie Gray shopping or a barbershop haircut that cost a certain amount of bells, and then you leave. It didn't feel truly connected, and once the novelty wore off, it just wasn't enough to keep me returning constantly. And then there was the grass deterioration. If you played City Folk, you probably just started staring at the screen like that one soldier in that one meme. This was just a baffling mechanic in the series. Like, simply walking around your town turned it into a barren wasteland. You'd see dirt tracks forming just because you existed in your own space. It punished you for engaging with the world the way the game encouraged you to. Like, I just started noticing more and more brown patches in the grass, and it felt like my town was literally falling apart, and I had no real way to fix it without becoming paranoid. Still, despite everything, City Folk will always be the game that opened the door for me. It didn't become my long-term obsession like some other games, but it definitely got me interested in the series. I also am very upset that someone lent out my copy and I've never gotten it back since. Subscribe so I can afford to get a new copy, and maybe I'll move it up after replaying it. Number 4, Animal Crossing Wild World. So like I said, 5, 4, and 3 on this list were incredibly close, and Wild World was the first time Animal Crossing truly felt portable, and that alone changed the way I played the series. Unlike City Folk, where I had to get on my Wii to play, and I had limited time when I actually could, and a lot of times when I was on my Wii I would want to play like a Mario game or something, I could play Wild World in cars and waiting rooms, at relatives' houses, on vacation, even under the covers way too late at night when I should have been asleep, and it seemed like there was something new every time. The touchscreen interface was genuinely revolutionary at the time. On the GameCube, decorating was slow, it was a little clunky, but in Wild World, you just drag things around, you place things instinctively like you're actually rearranging real objects. Even opening letters or managing your inventory felt a lot smoother. Just made the game feel more intimate, if that makes sense. And the villagers, like honestly this game had some of the best villager dialogue in the series. There was a sarcasm to them that just felt so refreshing. They weren't polished yet, and I mean that in the best possible way. They'd say weird things, funny things, occasionally rude things, but always in that charming DS era where they felt like real personalities. Some conversations in Wild World still stick with me because they were just so unpredictable. Sometimes a villager would just drop some line trying to be wise, like how Jalen Hurts does, and then immediately pivot to begging you for a fruit. But despite all of this charm, Wild World is also one of the games that aged the roughest. Towns could feel weirdly barren, lots of flat terrain, very little natural variation, and a skybox that wrapped around like the world was curled up into a little cylinder, which I mean, it is. It was iconic at the time, but looking back, it does make the world feel a bit smaller and a bit emptier than others. Holidays being removed also hurt more than I realized back then, and without major events, certain parts of the year felt strangely quiet. Still, Wild World has a lot of charm and grabbed my attention a little more than City Folk, although once again, it's extremely close and I had trouble deciding between these two and really even the next couple. Moving into the top 3, we have Animal Crossing, the original one on the GameCube. This is one of the strangest, most wonderful, and most atmospheric life sim experiences ever created. This was the first game in the series that you didn't need a Japanese-only accessory to play, so for those of you asking why that game is not in this video, it's because no one played it here. The villagers in this version are in a league of their own. Sort of like in Wild World, they're very blunt and sometimes just straight up rude, but always very memorable. Modern Animal Crossing games have a warmth to them, but the GameCube villagers felt more chaotic. They'd insult your outfit, question your life choices, guilt trip you for not writing them letters, and then casually tell you something wholesome the next day. The lack of filters made them feel more human than the toned down villagers we have now. The pacing of the GameCube game is also unlike anything else. There's no crafting, no terraforming, no decorating outside, and weirdly, all of that simplicity makes it feel bigger and not smaller. The game never rushes you, it never prompts you with goals or tries to lead you towards some optimized playstyle. You simply just live, you decorate your tiny house, you check in on villagers, you fish, you donate to the museum, you pick weeds, and somehow that simplicity became therapeutic in a way no other game has replicated. And remember, this was not my first Animal Crossing game. I played this well after it had released. And then there's the NES games, easily one of the coolest and most surprising bonuses in video game history. You could literally connect and play full NES titles inside your Animal Crossing home. No subscriptions, no DLC bundles, no digital storefronts. There's just classic games waiting to be found. And if I had made this even just like a month or two ago, I would say it's never came back, but as of the time of writing, it's actually coming out next month in New Horizons through the paid update, so that is really cool. But what really sets the GameCube entry apart is the vibe of it. It's cozy, peaceful, but slightly eerie in some moments. There's a quiet stillness to nighttime in this game that the newer titles don't have anymore. It's like wandering around a childhood neighborhood where everything feels familiar but slightly surreal, sort of like a liminal space. Even the music leans into the dreamy atmosphere, like long looping melodies that sit with you as you wander. The GameCube version sits on my list because it captures something the series has just never fully recreated. Like, it feels like discovering a forgotten corner of your own memory. It is the strangest entry, but I mean that in a good way. Number 2, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Before New Horizons, Animal Crossing was still a very popular Nintendo series. Both New Leaf and Wild World sold well over 10 million copies, and City Folk and the original have plenty of success too. But New Horizons became a cultural phenomenon. As of the time of writing, New Horizons has sold nearly 50 million units, which is just insane. That's more than every other game in the series combined. It was on an extremely popular system and came out at a time when people were looking for distractions with all the free time. While many people were stuck in their houses, New Horizons gave the feeling of being on a beautiful island. island. What set New Horizons apart immediately was how much creative freedom it offered. Terraforming was huge. Suddenly you weren't confined to the town you were given. You could carve rivers, shape cliffs, flatten land, build entire neighborhoods based on aesthetics that didn't even exist in past games. Some people tried their best to create cities, others made national parks. Like, people were doing crazy things here. And the fact that all this was possible in Animal Crossing made it feel like the series had stepped into a new era, or I guess you could say a new horizon. Decorating outdoors was just as transformative. No longer were you limited to arranging your home. Now the entire island was your canvas. Like, yeah, you could decorate outdoors in previous games, but not as much as this. I would obsess over tiny details for hours, where benches should go, how to space out flowers, what kind of pathing I wanted, how to frame entryways with trees. It was an easy game to lose time in. Like, you think you're playing for 20 minutes and suddenly realize 3 hours had passed. But that freedom did come with trade-offs. Villager dialogue was noticeably simpler and repeated often. The emotional depth that defined older entries didn't translate fully here. Crafting tools constantly breaking could get tedious. Like, this game was trying to be Breath of the Wild. Seasonal events repeating year after year with minimal change made some of the charm fade. And for a long time, it generally felt like the game wasn't finished. Waiting for updates became part of the routine of this game. Then the 2.0 update dropped, and overnight the game transformed. Suddenly there were new shops, new features, new villager interactions, new items, the return of Brewster. I felt like the game finally grew into itself. There's been updates since. There was, of course, the Happy Home Paradise DLC, and now the Switch 2 version and paid update next month. But even with all those improvements, New Horizons never quite matched number 1 on the list for me. Like, it was a fun game, it was very creative, but it just lacked something. Even so, New Horizons means a lot to me, and I know a lot of people have this at the bottom of their list because it isn't perfect, and a lot of them didn't play it after the update. And I know there's going to be people commenting saying how the list is invalidated for this, but again, if I had this lower, there'd be people saying it was invalidated for having it low, so there's really no winning there, so I'm just going based on my opinions, like I said. And at number 1, this was the easiest choice for me out of all the main series games in the video. It's Animal Crossing New Leaf. This is genuinely one of my favorite games ever made. If you watch my top 10 3DS games video, you would know this was number 1. Like, this was something that was a big part of my childhood, at least when I was in middle school, I should say. This was the first time I really got into Animal Crossing. Like, I'd played previous games before, but I didn't really think about it too much. But New Leaf just got me hooked. Like, becoming the mayor here was a great change. I loved being able to make, like, the ordinances, being able to design the town the way I wanted. And the villagers in New Leaf weren't just creative animals wandering around, but they had personalities I bonded with. Their dialogue here maybe isn't the best in the entire series, but it still had a lot of charm. I remember having villagers I refused to let leave, and I just talked to them every day to make sure they stayed. And when one of them moved out unexpectedly, it just hit way harder than I ever thought it could. I love the town in New Leaf, like with City Folk where it felt disconnected, and New Horizons where it's all just part of like the one island. In New Leaf, you had the separate part of town past the train tracks where there was just all the different stores, like all the different places. There was the Happy Home showcase. There was just so much there and it felt connected. Like, I carried my 3DS everywhere at this time. If I was at an event, I'd open my town for a quick check-in. If I was on a road trip, I'd play it. Even if I was bored at home, I'd hop on for no other reason than to just get some things done. I'd play late at night to hear KK Slider in the club. I would decorate my home for certain holidays. I wrote letters to my villagers and even to my future self, because that's kind of the way New Leaf made you feel. I remember I wrote a letter to myself. I wrote it in 2015 and opened it a couple years ago, and it was way more emotional than I thought. I wish I wrote more letters to myself, because it was cool to just see past me communicating with future me through Animal Crossing. New Horizons may have more features, and the GameCube original might have more personality, but no Animal Crossing game has ever just matched the emotional weight, just the feeling of this game, the personal attachment that New Leaf gave me. No matter how many future entries come out, I feel like it's going to be really, really tough for any game to be better than New Leaf to me. And honestly, I would have had so much more time in this game if there wasn't Tomodachi Life around the same time, because I was addicted to that as well. And I truly do hope someday that there will be a new Animal Crossing game that can really capture what New Leaf had. So that's my personal ranking of every Animal Crossing game. And once again, I know a lot of you are going to disagree with this. There's probably not going to be a single person who agrees with every single placement on here. And you don't need to. It just matters what you think. I don't care if you have New Leaf below Amiibo Festival, because the only thing that matters, the only right list, is your own list. And this is just meant to be a fun series. It's just meant to be a relaxing getaway from the real world. So don't be upset if I didn't like your favorite game as much as you do. I just want to hear your thoughts. Like, what Animal Crossing games were special to you? Because especially with a series like this that has this personal feeling, the time you played it is going to have a lot of influence on where you rank it. So tell me some stories. Like, why is your game your favorite? Why do you maybe not like a certain game? And if you made it to the end of this video, I'd appreciate if you subscribe and like, as it does help me out. And let me know if you want to see more Animal Crossing videos. Like, this was my first dedicated Animal Crossing video on the channel, and it is a series I really like, so I would like to cover it more. And also consider joining my Discord. Thank you for watching Domainy, and I'll see you next time.